Welcome to this Idaho Reports Web Extra. Joining me today is Sarah Thomas, Administrative Director for the Idaho Supreme Court. Thanks so much for joining us. I am curious about the Office of Performance Evaluations report that came out this week on mandates for counties. And one of the things that came up multiple times was Odyssey, the new court system. And one of the numbers that stood out to me was 78% of county commissioners who responded said the transition to Odyssey was difficult. Was that a surprise to you?
It wasn't. The fact is, this was a huge transition. It took up a lot of state resources, but it also took up county resources. The courts actually partner with the counties. The counties provide personnel, they provide facilities, and so it was a difficult transition. But there is no way that moving from an entirely paper system where we were just tracking things electronically to now an entirely different system with different business processes was going to be easy. I can say this, we transitioned 44 counties into a new system. And if you look at the outcome of that, we now have a completely electronic system. We have judicial partners that are able to access documents online. They were never able to do that before. Throughout that process, one of the things that I am most proud of is that if you look at 2017 and 2018, our case management system, which is what the courts use in court, the judges are on it, it has on average been up and running and fully functional 99% of the time. That's an amazing number considering it's in 44 different counties and that we have to struggle with some outside influences as we do that. So I think it has been a good transition. It was going to be difficult, but the counties rallied. They provided a lot of support to their people. They helped with the transition itself, and it was a successful rollout to all counties.
But one of the things that came up in the report was some of the counties have experienced outages when it comes to Odyssey, that it's going offline. Why is that?
One of the perceptions that was put in the report was that, quote, the system is a mess and the system goes down and we have to close court. Unfortunately, that wasn't fact checked. And here's what I know. If you look at the Odyssey system itself, which is what the courts put in, the case management system has been up on average 99% of the time. That doesn't mean that there aren't outside influences. For example, if a county is attacked by ransomware, which happens at least once a month, we have to take down our computers just to protect the court data. Now, that's not a problem with the Odyssey system, but it absolutely can impact the ability to hold court. So the Odyssey system itself is up and running well, but that doesn't mean that there aren't county influences that prevent us from moving forward.
So that misunderstanding exists. Should the Supreme Court be doing more to reach out to these counties and educate them as to what's going on?
Absolutely, and had I been reached out to, I could have explained, you know, here's the data, here's what shows, the actual data that shows how often Odyssey is online and offline. We can provide that information to anyone that asks. We are tracking, for example, there was a question about whether or not we were responsive to the issues that the counties had. We looked at how many service tickets we've had over the last 2 years. We've had well over 10,000. 8,000 of those were resolved in 24 hours. That's a pretty good outcome. Now, there are always those issues that can't be resolved quickly. Sometimes it takes something like new software, new coding. We have to go back to the vendor and say, the software can't do this and we need you to write coding to make it happen. Sometimes it has to be reconfigured based upon how a particular county wants to function. When that happens, it takes longer. And so there are going to be those instances where it is a slow response. Doesn't mean we're not working behind the scenes, but it takes time. But if you look at those about 10,000 service tickets, over 8,000 of them were resolved in 24 hours. And that's during our go live. That's when we are taking counties online for the first time. That's a pretty good outcome.
But is it problematic that there were 10,000 service tickets in the first place?
I think that depends on what you're looking at with the service tickets. So when a service ticket comes in, it could be that someone is misunderstanding a business process and they're simply not putting information in correctly and they need help with that. Now, I am the first to say that we've had our struggles. One of the things that we didn't plan well for and that we learned partway into the process is we were ill prepared to address the financial aspects of this software. It wasn't until after Ada County came online that we realized that we had a big problem with the finances. So we rallied. That's what we did. We actually stopped the project and delayed implementation in other counties for 6 months while we started working on those financial processes. If you look at the first 2 counties that we took online, Twin and Ada, they had a lot more issues than by the time we rolled on the last 14 counties. So it was a learning process. There were absolutely lessons learned. There were things we did well and things that we recognized we didn't do well. I now have my financial team going out and meeting with each county individually and working on the finances. So 10,000 tickets, it depends on which tickets you're looking at. There were things we did well and there are things that we didn't do well, but we learned something from.
It sounds like, though, that there's still a disconnect between at least some of the counties, not all of the counties, as you mentioned, but some of the counties and the courts. What's next to bridge that communication gap?
So I think the next steps for the Odyssey program include working closely with the counties to address issues. So just to be clear, the project isn't done. We've put the bare bones in each of the counties, and now we're in the process of building that out. Odyssey has a lot of capabilities that the counties are going to benefit from that aren't built out yet. So for example, we are in the process of building up our jury module. This is a module where someone who gets jury service, right now they have to come into court and they may be told when they get there, we don't need you and you can go home. But they've already had to travel into the court. One of the pieces of the jury module is we're going to be able to text in real time to jurors. You know, the case that you were going to sit on just settled. You don't have to come in. So there are benefits that we still have to build out. We also have a complete upgrade coming in the third quarter of 2019 that is going to resolve a lot of the issues that we've seen. We're currently on Odyssey 2014, and we're going to be upgrading to the latest system that they have. So there's a lot more to come. This is not a one and done project, and we're going to be working closely with the counties as we move forward.
All right, Sarah Thomas, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.